Welcome back, everyone, to another Sunday special. Form your hand signs and grab your nerve gear. Today, we're diving into an incredible Naruto crossover that blends the unbreakable will of fire with the deadly virtual reality of Sword Art Online. After accepting an S-rank infiltration mission from Lady Tsunade, Naruto travels to a technologically advanced land to investigate the beta version of a revolutionary VR MMO known as Sword Art Online. Months later, he returns to play the official release, only to discover that performing a theoretical log-out jutsu is completely impossible. Akihiko Kayaba drops the ultimate truth: a game over inside this digital cage means death in the real world. Armed with his legendary ninja instincts, a unique dual-wielding shinobi skill mod, and a ninja way that refuses to give up, Naruto must fight through the 100 floors of Aincrad while protecting his new comrade squad. Along the way, he forms an unforgettable battle bond with the lightning flash, Asuna, faces impossible floor bosses, and uncovers system glitches hidden even from the game's cardinal system. If you're a fan of Naruto, Sword Art Online, high-stakes sword fights mixed with ninjutsu, romance, and absolutely overpowered shinobi moments, then you're going to love this story. So grab your favorite bowl of Ichiraku ramen, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's Sunday special. System initialized. The virtual shinobi is live. Let's begin. Hokage's office. "You rang Grandma," said a blonde man right before he dodged a chair. "I told you to stop calling me that," Gaki answered Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, with a vein popping out of her forehead. "I'll stop calling you that when you stop drinking and gambling." Tsunade snorted, as if that were ever going to happen. If Tsunade ever stopped drinking, then the end of the world was surely coming soon. Asking Tsunade to stop drinking and gambling is like asking Naruto to stop eating ramen, never going to happen. "Okay, enough of that, let's get down to business. I have an S-class solo mission for you." This got Naruto's undivided attention. It was rare to get a S-class mission, and it was rare to get a solo mission. But an S-class solo mission was on a whole different level. Naruto, we're trying to expand our knowledge of the lands surrounding the elemental nations. This is only S-class because of the unknown mission length and the fact that you're going into unknown territory. Leave as soon as possible. The blonde could hardly contain his excitement. He would be heading to a land nobody from the elemental nations have ever gone to. And Naruto. Yes. There's this thing called Sword Art Online that's about to be released to the public in that country. However, before it's released, a select few people can try out this, whatever it is, in its beta version. I was lucky enough to get a ticket, so I want you to investigate this Sword Art Online thing. She handed over the ticket, but before he left, Naruto wanted to have the last laugh. "You got it, Grandma," he yelled as he used Shunshin to disappear from the scene before he could get the beating of a lifetime. Unnamed country. Naruto Uzumaki was not easily surprised. He was a sage trained by Jiraiya of the Sannin, was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and had recently defeated the leader of the evil Jinchuriki capturing group named the Akatsuki, so not a lot of things caught him off guard. But come on, being pulled into a virtual world where your avatar could do anything you could, minus jutsus, and you could learn skills for your sword. Naruto was currently in a place called the Town of Beginnings. It was the place that everyone began in while playing the game. The only problem was that Naruto had literally no knowledge of playing video games. As he looked around, he saw players looking around the new world for the first time just like him. But out of the group, one person stood out. It was a medium-sized guy who looked Naruto's age, maybe a year younger. He had long raven-colored like Sasuke's, except this guy's hair didn't have that duck's shape. He wore a blue shirt with black pants. What separated this guy from the others is the fact that he was already running towards the exit of the town, as if he knew where he was going. That guy's gotta know how to do this stuff. After a few hours of playing the game and learning from the boy who was now identified as Naruto continued on his own, defeating monsters, leveling up and gaining items every day until the beta was over. Sadly, every good thing does come to an end, and this was no exception. For a month after Naruto started his mission, he went home to tell his grandma and Hokage all about his great adventure. He told her all about the game that is Sword Art Online and how nobody knows about the elemental nations and ninjas over there. During his long explanation of the other nations, Tsunade smiled. This was the other side of Naruto that hardly got to be unleashed anymore, unless he was eating ramen, of course. Nowadays Naruto was all training and no playing. The pain attack really changed him despite what other people thought. She knew that if Naruto stayed on this path of seeking peace, then he would become the greatest Hokage of all time, surpassing all of his predecessors by miles. SAO 3 months later. Just fucking great, Naruto had just returned to the newly found country to play the final release of SAO. Everything was going great at first. He even met up with Kirito and his friend Klein. They talked for a while fighting low-level boars. He caught up with Kirito and even made a friend in Klein. After everything was done around 5, Klein attempted to leave only to find out there was something missing in the settings. "Guys, the logout button isn't there." "Look closer," Kirito answered. "I'm telling you it's not there." "Dude, look, it's right." Surprisingly, Klein was right. The logout button just wasn't where it was during the beta. Due to Naruto's Shinobi training, he instantly knew something was off. This feeling was only fueled when all 3 of them were surrounded in a blue light. When the light disappeared, they found themselves in the town of beginnings. Slowly, more and more players surrounded in blue lights were teleported into the town. When all the players were in the town of beginnings, a red liquid came from the sky, forming a red-cloaked person. "Attention players, welcome to my world." "My world?" Naruto and Kirito both said in union. "My name is Akihiko Kayaba. As of this moment I am the sole person who can control this world." That started the comments of random players. "Is it really him? He must have spent a lot of time on this." They were all silenced when the cloaked figure spoke again. "I'm sure you all noticed that the logout button is missing from the menu. This is not a bug in the game. I repeat, this is not a bug in the game. This is a feature in Sword Art Online." Naruto's eyes hardened, so his first guess was right, this was a trap. A F feature is all Klein managed to get out. You cannot log yourself out and nobody from the outside world can shut down or remove the nerve gear. If someone tries to do this, the transmitter from within the nerve gear will send out a powerful microwave, destroying your brain and stopping your life. Gasps filled the town along with anger-filled voices. A man and a girl attempted leaving only to be held back by an invisible shield. Unfortunately, some friends and families have ignored the warning and attempted to remove the nerve gear. As a result, there are now 213 less players in both worlds. Multiple organizations are now reporting this and the deaths, so the chance of removal of the nerve gear should be minimal. "That's impossible!" Klein yelled. "I hope you all relax and attempt to finish the game. But remember this, there is no longer a way to revive fallen comrades. Once your HP drops to 0, you're dead in both worlds." For many it seemed like this would be the end of their short-lived life. But Naruto, he had to become Hokage and there was no way he was just going to give up. Right now you all are on floor 1, the lowest floor. The only way to leave this world is to beat all 100 floors and finally destroy the final boss that level. And finally, I have a little present for everyone in their items. Everyone looked in their items and were surprised to see a new item in there. Mirror in Naruto's, Kirito's, and Klein's hands were small mirrors. As each of them looked into the mirrors, they were surrounded by a blue light. In their place stood a shorter, less muscular version of Kirito with shorter hair. In Klein's place stood a man that was the same height as his avatar with shorter hair and less facial hair. Naruto had made a character almost exactly like his real body, the only difference being that his avatar had a lighter complexion. "Kirito, is that you?" Klein asked. This guy definitely didn't look like the Kirito he met. "Klein, is that you?" This also didn't look like the person Kirito had met. "Whoa, you guys, your avatars look so much cooler," Naruto said as he laughed at his new friends. Apparently they made their characters almost completely different. "One more thing before I leave, son of the Yellow Flash, heir to the Namikaze clan, sage of the Toads, apprentice to Jiraiya, Fox Prison, whatever you want to be called, I know you're here, I left you a present." The man with spinning red eyes is here. With those last words, the cloaked figure turned back into a red blob and left the same way he entered. That gave Naruto the goosebumps. This man knew who he was and what he was. What freaked out Naruto the most was that the man all but choked out the last sentence. Only later would Naruto realize what kind of gift the game creator had left him, and why he spoke like that. After the game creator disappeared from sight, hell began. 9,787 people ran for the exit. In the middle of the crazy mob running towards the exit were Kirito, Naruto, and Klein. Naruto, still in his thoughts, got separated from the other two males. Okay, Klein, we have to go to the next village fast. If what Akihiko said is true, then I can't go with you, Kirito. My friends, they're probably going crazy right now in the town of Beginnings Plaza. I understand. Although he said this, he couldn't help but feel extremely disappointed. Once again, he would be taking the solo route. Don't worry about me, Kirito. I'll meet up with you eventually, and I know Naruto will too. Yeah, you're right. Bye, Klein. I'll see you around. The town of Beginnings, with Naruto. 20 minutes after the psychopath that is Akihiko Kayaba left the plaza, the only ninja in the game, or so he thought, was deep in thought. If the game creator was being truthful, then Yukiya was in the game. But who could it be? Sasuke, Itachi, Madara? It could even be Kakashi. Only one of those guesses would be good for him. Even if that's a huge mystery in itself, how did he know who he was? Most humans from this region of the earth know nothing about ninjas. What made this man different? Another thing is he left him a present. What the hell does that even mean? Whatever, I'll think about it more later on, he muttered. Apparently Kirito and Klein got separated from him in all of the chaos. So once again he was going solo. First plan of action, head to next town while grinding mobs, smiley face. 2 days later on the road to next town. It had been 2 days since the start of the death game, and although this particular situation would make most people gloomy, it didn't really affect Naruto. Death around him every day wasn't a really new thing for most ninja. No, he didn't like it, and no, he didn't want to stay here, but as it seems he didn't have a choice. This would also help achieve his dream of world peace, and if he had to play a video game to even complete 1%, then sure as hell he would beat that game. After all, he's the only one left to fulfill both Nagato's and Pervy Sage's dreams. His thoughts were cut off when he heard a female yell. Ah! The voice yelled. In the distance he could see a figure running from something. It was obviously a girl from the sound of her voice. Aha! I guess I should help out. He ran towards the girl at speeds he would have called a snail's pace in real life, but there's no getting around that. As he started charging up a sword skill, he finally realized what he was up against. Behind the girl stood a boar twice the size of a regular boar that can be found around town of Beginnings. That wasn't the problem for Naruto. After all, he'd fought thing 100 times his own size. The real problem was the boar's level. That was a level 12 boar. It was only 2 days into the game and he was still on level 4, almost 5, and that was only because he was constantly taking missions from NPCs. There was no chance he could survive and protect the girl at the same time. Maybe if he was by himself he would have a small chance of survival, but together they were sitting ducks. Suddenly the boar's horns turned into a crimson red color. He knew this attack. This was one of the basic boar attacks. Even if it was basic, the boar's level made the attack incredibly deadly to someone of his level, and most likely her level, especially because of the fact that it gives the boar a boost in speed. He kept running and rammed into her side just after the boar gained its speed boost. When Naruto pushed the girl to the ground, he fell with her. A few seconds passed and Naruto was up and ready to go. As he looked to the ground, he noticed that the girl was not. Picking her up in his arms bridal style, he ran towards his original destination. If he could get there, he was safe. The safe zone would protect them. All he had to do was enter town and he would be a free man. The boar, however, wasn't going to give up. It charged forward, quickly closing the distance Naruto had worked so hard to make. With the speed the boar was going at, it was no surprise that the boar was already closing in. The blonde just kept running as fast as the game would allow him. He looked down at the tired form below him. She was doing worse than he was. This was his first time actually looking at the girl. She had long glossy chestnut hair that would probably reach her but if she were standing right now. She wore a dark red leather tunic with a lightweight copper breastplate and leather pants with boots that go up to the knees. Overall she looked pretty, but now isn't really the time to think about that. She also looked about his age, but who knows, certainly not him. Once again he heard the boar's attack being started, but this time everything happened in slow motion. He heard the boar running faster and faster until it was so close he thought he could feel the tusks going deep into his back. Use it was what Naruto heard before time stopped and he was sucked into his mindscape. In his mind was a large cage big enough to house all of the hidden village's villagers. This was where the Kyuubi usually was. Naruto gasped at the sight before him. In the spot where the mighty Kyuubi no Kitsune used to spend its time stood a small one-tailed fox. It was only half the size of Akamaru. Ha 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 ha. Shut up, fool, it's your fault I'm in this form, and don't you understand what's going on? If you die I can't heal you in real life. The blonde kind of expected that since the brain was a delicate object and even a small amount damage in the right spot could kill a man. Anyways, we have to get you out of the mess you've gotten yourself into this time. When the bastard said he left you a gift, he left you a special hidden skill. Kayaba? No, it was Santa. Of course it was him, idiot. Who else would have the power to do this? You don't have to be so mean about it, Naruto said with a pout. So what kind of skill? I think it was made specifically for you. It's called Shinobi. Why do you think it would be made for me? Oh, I don't know, maybe it's the fact that one of the abilities you can unlock is the Rasengan. Oh, that was a first. No wonder why the now small fox thinks that it was made for him. It did make sense, after all he was the heir to the clan that owns that technique. So how do I start using my Rasengan again? He was so happy that soon enough he would be able to just demolish his enemies with a Rasengan to the face. You didn't really think that it would be that easy, did you? This skill has its own whole set of rules that you have to go by to unlock these jutsu. If I'm right, you won't be using the Rasengan until at least level 40. Another thing is that the only way to level up is to keep using your techniques. Kami must really hate me, he was pissed off. Who has the heart to take away someone's favorite jutsu that they worked extremely hard to learn? Then tell them, hey, you can have your jutsu back when you reach level 40. Angrily, Naruto opened up his menu and looked at his current skills. Now that he thought about it, he never really got into his skill list. The only things he had were one-handed sword, cooking, and the katana skill. He still had one more slot open and he already knew which skill would go in that slot, the Shinobi skill. He swiftly confirmed that he wanted the skill and tapped the virtual menu. When he clicked it, another part of the menu was opened. It had 4 choices: plus chakra, plus ninjutsu, plus genjutsu, plus taijutsu. As soon as he saw ninjutsu, he tapped it. He was greeted by the sight of a lot of question marks. Ninjutsu. Plus LVL 8. Plus LVL 11. Plus LVL 14. Plus LVL 17. Plus LVL 20. Plus LVL 20. The list continues. That gives me mountains of choices, the blonde said sarcastically. He went back to the original Shinobi menu. Plus chakra. Plus ninjutsu. Plus genjutsu. Plus taijutsu. Guess chakra will have to do for now. Chakra. Plus control, LVL, 1. Understand basic concept of chakra and can channel chakra to body parts to enhance. Plus LVL 5. Plus LVL 8. Plus LVL 11. Plus LVL 14. Plus LVL 17. Plus LVL 20. Plus LVL 50. Thanks, Kyuubi. Be gone, mortal. Okay, damn, who shoved a stick up your ass? The small fox tried to roar only to make a high-pitched growl. This of course sent Naruto into another laugh fit. Okay, I'm done, it's over. Still laughing, the blonde left his mindscape and furry friend. Back in virtual world. Naruto quickly got back to saving both his and the stranger in his arms' lives. Then he remembered why he was sucked into his mindscape in the first place. The huge boar had initiated its attack and was about to trample the blonde. He could already see the town, and it was literally a quarter of a mile away. So close, whispered to himself. Think, Naruto, think. Do you have any skills that can help you get away? He almost let the boar kill him when he finally remembered his new shinobi skill. Channel chakra to body parts to enhance. He quickly used his new skill and what he learned in the academy to enhance the muscles in his legs, quickly gaining speed he hadn't known he had even in the real world. The only problem was since the technique was at level 1 on his chakra control was completely shit. It was worse than when he graduated from the academy. The only bright side he could think of was that he thankfully had the reserves he had in the real world. As soon as he started running at chakra-enhanced speeds, he left the boar in the dust. When he entered the next town, he didn't stop, he continued on into the nearest hotel. The fatigue finally caught up to the blonde. Not only was he tired from the long day of fighting off mobs, but he recently had to carry a not-so-light girl, and since his chakra control was shit, he couldn't control how much chakra he was using, so he basically depleted all of his reserves. All in all, the boy was not in the best conditions. He was so tired he didn't know that he went to the most expensive hotel on the first floor of Aincrad. But for now that didn't matter. After paying for the room, for the week, he took the key and slowly walked to the room. The girl in his arms had completely fallen asleep, which made it harder to carry her around. So when he got to the one-bedroom apartment, he threw the girl onto the only bed and soon joined her under the covers. He was still completely tired and was probably even worse than when he entered the hotel. For the last time that day, he closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning. Why do my legs hurt so much? Two cerulean eyes opened and closed again when the light hit them. This had been the best night of sleep he had ever gotten, even counting back at the village. He yawned and tried to get up. That's when he noticed weight on his arm. Looking down, he saw the chestnut-haired girl from the day before. A red hue adorned his cheeks as he realized that he slept with the girl in an awkward position. To make things worse, the girl chose that moment to wake up. She yawned cutely and looked at him completely confused. Here was a man in the same bed as her with his arm around her. Punch to the face. What are you doing here? Asked a still tired and angry blushing Asuna. Well, I was waking up, that is until I got punched in the face by a stranger. Why do you think I punched you? All I remember from yesterday was running from a level 12 mini-boss and passing out, she said as the anger slowly subsided. Yeah, well, how do you think you survived, was all he said as he left the room. 0-0 realization quickly hit the girl in the face. This blonde stranger was the person who saved her. But why? This wasn't a game anymore. He could have easily walked away and saved himself. Hey, do you want any breakfast? The blonde-headed boy once again entered the room. This time he looked a lot less tired and he had a plate with eggs and bacon. Why are you doing this? She said quietly. Doing what? Naruto replied happily. See, there you go again. First you save me, then you bring me to your home. After that I punch you. Your answer my punch with a plate of food. What's wrong with that? He answered, still confused. Why are you so nice? This is life or death. There's a huge chance that you could have died trying to save me. So why? Well, there's a lot of reasons why I helped you. First of all, it's just the right thing to do. Another is when I was a kid I didn't exactly have a good childhood. Hundreds of people hated me and for a reason I didn't know. People would see me in trouble and ignore my cries for help, so now I help people out whenever I can and hope they never have to go through what I went through. This made Asuna look at him in a whole new light. This guy sounded like the kind of hero you could find in a comic. He also looked like one with those strong arms and the way they held me dash. So is that a yes or a no? Naruto asked as he pointed to the food. No thanks, I didn't leave the town of beginnings to eat good food. Then why did you? I left because I don't want to lose myself. Throughout my entire time being here I want to be myself. If I were to stay in the town of beginnings then I would become a shadow of my former self, and I'd rather die by a monster than live my whole life being fake. That's a lot of bullshit. If that's the reason you're fighting you shouldn't even try to live, he said angrily. What do you mean? She said, looking at him like he'd grown a third eye. What I mean is you should be fighting to go back home. to go back to your family, not for staying yourself outside of this world. You mean something. There are people who care about you. Don't fight for yourself, fight for them, the people who need you. If you keep fighting monsters like the one I saved you from, then you're going to get yourself killed. But even if that doesn't matter to you, people outside of this place will be crushed just because you decided to run yourself to the ground, and not even for a good reason. He left the food on the nightstand and left the room. This left Asuna to think about what he said. After leaving his apartment, Naruto decides to go out training. 5 hours later. His training time was cut short when a monster got a lucky hit and lowered his health past 3/4. Naruto decided to go home and cook himself some food. It probably wouldn't be good, but he could always imagine it was ramen. The blonde-haired sage walked up the stairs that lead to the room he was staying at. When he entered, he surprised to see the table set, and a plate set for him. On the side opposite to his plate sat the stranger he had met the day before. He was about to apologize for yelling at her earlier, but was cut off by her own apology. "I'm sorry about how I acted earlier, and you're right. I should be fighting for my family because they are the ones who were hit the hardest, and they were the ones who care about me the most. So thank you." With that, Asuna stood up and hugged the complete stranger. He returned this hug with his own. They stayed like that for a while. Naruto was a complete cherry. He had never really had contact with a girl besides fighting and getting punched. Asuna also looked like a cherry, but for a completely different reason, her reason being that Naruto had an incredible build. She could feel his hard muscles surrounding her, and she could feel his hard six-pack against her own stomach. Eventually they let go and sat down to eat. Asuna had prepared 2 plates of beef, with rice and peas. As she was enjoying her creation, she could hear someone sobbing. In front of her sat the stranger that saved her, crying like a small child with an empty plate. "What's wrong?" It's. Spit it out already." It was so good. The blonde got on one knee and took out a ring he got from a mission the day after the game began. "Please marry me and make me food like this every day." That was the last thing he said that night. Asuna knocked him out cold. That was also the night Naruto would think of as the day he truly became friends with Asuna. December 2nd, 2022. A little over a month had passed and about 2,000 players had died. Still no one had found the boss's room. Not even Naruto himself, who was a beta tester, had found it. It's not like he was actually looking for it. Ever since he met Asuna, he and the girl had done their best to level up as much as they could. Now, a month into the game, Naruto was at level 15 and Asuna was at level 14. Today was a very important day. Today there would be a meeting about the boss. Naruto was usually the first one up due to his training as a ninja, but today Asuna had gone to bed early. Naruto-kun, get up, while into their friendship Naruto had started calling Asuna Asuna-chan, and Asuna had recently started calling him Naruto-kun. "Just a few more minutes," was his reply. "Oh my gosh, I just leveled up my cooking skill, now I can make ramen," she smirked as he jumped out of bed and pulled her into their kitchen. Asuna, "Ramen please," smiled at him, the smile that let him know he was lied to. "That's mean, Asuna-chan," he said as he pouted. After eating breakfast, they started on their way to the meeting. Once they entered the Colosseum-shaped meeting spot, they were greeted by the sound of about 50 people laughing at a blue-haired man. They were yelling things like, "You can't be a knight in this game. There's no class system in this game." Naruto joined in the laughing just for the fun of it. He looked like a madman. "Naruto-kun, why are you laughing?" Asuna asked while looking at his sudden mood change. He stopped laughing enough to answer. "I don't want to seem out of place." "Ha ha 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 ha." Asuna facepalmed at this. This was Naruto though, and she wouldn't have it any other way. There was a blue-haired man in the center of the meeting. He started talking to silence everyone. "Yesterday my party found the boss's room. This quickly got everyone's undivided attention. This was crazy. All they had to do was beat the boss and they would reach the 2nd floor. None of us can beat the boss alone, not even a party could do it, we need a raid group." Who's in there were multiple yells of yes and we can do it, but most people just smiled and nodded their heads signifying that everyone was planning on going. Everyone get into parties. Naruto and Asuna looked at each other with the same thought going through both of their heads. Where were they going to get another teammate? From the look of it, everyone had teamed up already except for a black-haired boy that looked like Kirito. Kirito! Yelled the blonde. The raven-haired boy turned around. You better be partying with us. It's not like I really have a choice, replied Kirito dryly. This is Asuna. She's a friend I met a few days after we got separated. Before they could speak anymore, the blue-haired man spoke again. Okay, I'll see you all tomorrow here at, let's say 8 a.m. Before anyone could leave, an average height man with orange hair ran up to the blue-haired man now identified as Jabel. Wait. Hold on. Yes, do you have a question about the raid? No, my name is Kibu and I want to get something off my chest. There are people here who need to apologize to the 2,000 people who died. When this stupid game began, all of them left the town of beginnings and all of the people who didn't know left from right. You are talking about the beta testers, correct? Diabel's eyes widened slightly for a second, but it was enough to tell the blonde shinobi that Diabel was also a beta tester. Obviously, and they should give up all the call and items they earned after dashing out of the town of beginnings. I know there are a few of them here, so come out of hiding and pay for what you've done. A few people from the crowd agreed with him and those that were beta testers flinched and looked at the ground, minus Naruto. This man was starting to get really annoying. The blonde stood up and walked down the stairs to Kibu. Kirito and Asuna looked at him with wide eyes. Was he really going to give himself in? Finally, one of the traders comes out. Call in items please. Kibu put out his hand. So you're saying that all of us beta testers should apologize for the deaths and give you all of our call and items? Kibu took a step back. He was intimidated by the tall blonde but stood his ground. Why yeah, they should. Did you get one of these books? Naruto held up his copy of the guide for SAO for everyone to see. Yeah, who didn't? Exactly, everyone did, but almost no one actually read it. In the book there are a list of the best places to grind, shop and even info on the boss. And who do you think helped make the book? The beta testers. Another problem with what you said was the fact that most of those deaths weren't even caused by actual game reasons. Most of those deaths were caused by suicide. That shut Kibu up. It was completely true. In the book there was everything the blonde said there was, and a lot of people did commit suicide when the game first started. With that over with, Naruto walked up the stairs to leave, followed by Asuna. Bid farewell to the raven-haired boy who said he needed to do something and couldn't come. Outside boss room F1. Everyone knows the plan, right? Everyone nodded as Diabel pushed the double doors of the boss room open. The boss room was dark and resembled a palace. At the end of the room sat a red muscle-covered canine. Atop its head was the name Ilfong, the Kobold Lord. Naruto smiled, just like the beta. The mighty beast picked up its bone axe and jumped from its seat down to the ground where the players stood. Diabel chose that moment to take control. Squad A and B rushed the boss. The groups attacked the boss, while everyone else awaited command. C and D get ready to switch with the A and B. Squad E, keep those kobold sentinels off of us. With that last order given, everyone went to work. Naruto and Kirito both rushed at an opponent, striking at them with a normal slash. Switch. Asuna ran forwards as Naruto jumped back and switched with Kirito. The chestnut-haired girl's blade glowed a neon green as she used linear, the weakest of the rapier attacks. Even slow, it quickly finished Naruto's job and left Naruto to finish the second sentinel. Within seconds, Naruto disposed of the sentinel using an upward slash. The three of them made light work of the last one using their weakest attacks, Asuna linear, Naruto, and Kirito slash. Now with that job done, the three party members turned towards the boss. Its health was already at halfway through its third bar. Ilfong threw his axe at Asuna. It threw it so hard Asuna couldn't dodge or block it, despite the fact that she could see it coming at her. Luckily for her, a certain blonde-haired shinobi picked her up, ran towards her, and blocked it using chakra-enhanced muscles. He still didn't have the control he had in real life, but he was getting there. Ilfong grabbed another sword from his side just like in the beta. The only difference was that this time instead of a talwar he wielded an odachi. Thinking that it was the same as the beta, Diabel tried taking on the beast himself. "I got this," was what he said as he ran towards Ilfong with his sword, starting up a sword skill. Unfortunately for him, the Kobold Lord didn't have the same attack pattern as he did in the beta. Ilfong jumped to the ceiling, jumping from pillar to pillar. It jumped down and knocked Diabel away with a cut that sent his HP to 0. Naruto and Kirito ran towards the fallen knight and offered him a healing potion. "No, cough, please defeat the boss," those were his last words before disappearing in cluster of pixels. "Kirito, keep the boss busy for a few seconds, I have an idea." The raven-haired nodded and ran towards the boss. "Asuna-chan, let's do it." She quickly understood what he meant by it, but he couldn't really mean now, could he? "But Naruto-kun, you know it only work if the enemy is standing still," she answered. They had been working on a collaboration technique they called the piercing thrust. It did exactly what name said it did. "Let me handle that." "Kirito, get out of there." The boy jumped backwards, leaving the boss and Naruto to themselves. The blonde quickly jumped into the air and started doing hand seals: bird, hare, horse, and ram. Wind release, great breakthrough. As soon as those words left his mouth, a large gust of wind knocked Ilfong to the ground on his back. This left everyone in the room with their mouths hanging and the boss attempting to stand up. "Asuna, let's go." She quickly got out, surprised knowing that he would explain later. When she reached him, he grabbed her by the waist, causing her to blush, and jumped in the air once again. This time, however, his stomach was facing the ground while one hand was around Asuna and the other was reaching for the hand that was around the chestnut-haired girl. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 2 solid clones appeared behind the duo and used chakra-enhanced strength to kick their creator and his friend towards the boss. 2 shouts were heard. Collaboration technique, piercing thrust. The 2 were sent towards the boss at incredible speeds and easily, as the name implies, pierced through its body. The attack brought the boss's HP down to 0 and made it disappear in an explosion of pixels. /n. So yet another chapter finishes. I personally liked this one. Naruto will not be overpowered, right now he only knows Shadow Clone Jutsu. Substitution. Henge, time limit. Wind release, great breakthrough. I got the collaboration technique from the episode where he does collaboration with Gamatotsu. So yeah, that's about it. Please follow, favorite, and review. Doing so keeps me motivated, which makes me want to update more. The boss room was full of screaming people that at the time had expressions pure happiness. It reminded Naruto of the village when he came back from fighting Nagato. Everyone was extremely happy and full of relief, happy that there were almost no casualties and that they were finally able to defeat first level. Everyone, except Kibu, who blamed Naruto for the death of Jabel. "Stop cheering," said the angered Kibu. "Why'd you let him die? Why'd you let Diabel die?" Asked the blonde in confusion. "He would never let anyone die, especially not someone as noble as Diabel. From the beginning he had been there for people who didn't know anything about the game and were trying to survive. Even he, the savior of the leaf, had left everyone." Another voice agreed with Kibu and supported his false accusation. Yeah, he knew the boss's attack patterns. More and more people joined in on the Naruto bashing. "I know why he knew, he's a beta tester." Kibu was right, the beta testers are the enemy. Even the information on the boss in the book was wrong. By that time everyone who wasn't a beta tester was pissed off at the beta testers who gave wrong information. Naruto knew there was only one thing he could do. If he didn't, then the other beta testers would suffer. They would all be branded as traitors and most people who stay away from them. He knew it was time to step up and replace Diabel in helping those who needed the help. "So you think that I'm a beta tester? Come on, that's messed up," said the blonde shinobi while laughing like a hyena. What are you talking about?" Everyone was completely thrown off by his maniacal laugh. "How could you compare to those noobs? Yeah, I knew the boss's attack patterns because I've fought monsters 10 times as strong as Ilfong. I've gone to floors no one else could even dream about reaching. Everyone stared at the blonde with widened eyes. If what he said was true, that's a whole different level then. You're just a cheater, a cheating beta tester. Cries of anger filled the room. All of them yelling about beta testers and cheating. Dirty cheating tester. Lying bastards. He's a beater. That last one seemed to stick to the blonde. He honestly did like that name, beater. Yeah, I like that name, beater. From now on, call me a beater, but don't mistake me for a beta tester. He went into his inventory and unequipped the armor he had on, before equipping a black trench coat, /N, think of Ankos except black. On his feet he wore black wooden sandals. While they weren't the best for defense, they were great for speed, which was something he wanted very much. He also wore the closest thing to black umbu pants the shops had. While they looked like umbu pants, they were obviously made from a different type of material. Naruto turned to leave, but before he did, he walked up to Asuna and kissed her on the cheek. He did this with his face towards the exit so no one would notice what he was doing. Her face made a new shade of red, darker than Hinata could ever make. She always did find Naruto attractive, even though she would never admit it. He was definitely better than the man that her father kept bringing home. He was supposed to be a family friend and her father kept trying to put them together. Sogu. In the end, she wasn't sure of her feelings for Naruto, but she knew they were strong despite the fact that they've only known each other for a little over a month. You can become strong without me, but one day if someone you trust invites you into a guild, accept it because there are only so many things that a solo player can do. The blonde walked away from her hoping she wouldn't reply. He too had grown fond of his ex-companion. They both have had their fair share of close calls and the other was always there to save the day. He would be lying if he said he didn't have a crush her. She was very pretty and wasn't a ruthless psychopath like the girls back in Konoha. While Naruto was lost in thought and walking away, Asuna and Kirito looked at each other and nodded. They were both planning on doing the same thing. Follow my lead, she whispered to the raven-haired boy. Hold on 1 second. Asuna yelled, gaining the attention of everyone in the room, including Naruto. She turned towards Naruto and winked. Yeah, hold on, joined in Kirito. Don't pretend like you did all of that in the beta alone. Asuna said. This gave everyone in the hall a confused look. What did she mean by that? Yeah, what about that time we went on a player killing spree? The duo could definitely tell a lie. Both of their faces were red and completely full of rage, albeit Asuna's face was more red than Kirito's due to the kiss earlier. Naruto just smiled at them. What could he possibly have done to gain such great friends? What, are you just going to leave your best friend and your girlfriend? Kirito had seen the kiss Naruto left on Asuna's cheek and immediately thought they were together. So he didn't think when he said that. Asuna, however, did not want to ruin their cover and agreed with it. Yeah. How could you leave your Asuna-chan? This gave Naruto a huge blush. He looked at her just in time to see her wink and blow him a kiss. Now we find Naruto an even darker shade of red than Asuna when he kissed her cheek. Yup, there's payback for the kiss, thought a happy Asuna. All three of you get out, before we make you, Kibu said, thinking that the three of them would be no match for an entire raid -3. Make me, said the blonde simply. Asuna and Kirito walked over to him a few seconds after he said this. Alright, come on guys, let's show these beta testers how we roll. The entire raid group, minus a few, walked forward as one. Naruto, you idiot, why would you get them mad? Asuna said, angry that the blonde had gotten them into more trouble than they already were. Don't worry, Asuna. This once again brought a blush to her face. Shadow clone jutsu, Naruto said as he put his index fingers together to make a cross. When he finished his jutsu, there were 50 Narutos all ready to fight. The original grabbed Asuna's hand and Kirito's arm, pulling them towards the exit. Floor 2 supermarket. So what was that all about back there? Kirito asked Naruto. Asuna had left to go buy stuff for something special she had been wanting to make for a while. You didn't think we'd just let you take the solo route, did you? And you would be leaving your girlfriend, man? There you go again, she's not my girlfriend, where did you get this idea? I don't know, maybe it's the fact that you kissed her cheek, then she said she was yours, then she blew you a kiss, and finally you called her Asunaheim. That left the blonde speechless. Everything Kirito said was true, but was he really going out with Asuna? Hey guys, I'm back, said Asuna as she walked up to the duo. Naruto leaned over to see what the chestnut-haired girl was going to buy. You have to wait until dinner to find out, she said as she wiggled her finger with a mischievous smile. Oh, he's so gonna love this. If he really is in love with ramen, then he's gonna cry tears of joy tonight. Hotel 2 hours later. Asuna was in the kitchen creating what would soon be devoured by Naruto. Naruto was currently in the dining room of the small apartment they were renting for the month. He was awaiting the meal that Asuna was making. Kirito went out to train and Naruto would have gone with him but was forced to stay by Asuna, with her smiling and saying that he needs to stay for this. Sadly, Asuna was taking her time in the kitchen, so he was there waiting for a good hour. The long-awaited dinner was finally done, and after Asuna tasted her food, she really did think that ramen was a food of the gods. Okay, hey, race the food, she said as she placed the pot on the table. Naruto reached forward to take the top off the pot. So what did you ma dash? Naruto's eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. There in the pot was a lot of ramen. Ramen, the sometimes only thing he would eat on the streets because it was all he was allowed. It was something that had saved him from death on numerous times, that's why he loved ramen so much, it was literally a lifesaver. While it was obvious that he really loved ramen, the woman had taken that into account and made it for him. My gift to you, she said with a smile. This was literally the first gift he had ever gotten. No one had ever been so caring to him before. That's when he made up his mind, and that's when he knew he was falling for her, and he was falling hard. He knew he had to get something equally as great. He took out a plate of food for himself and for her. So Naruto. Yeah. I think it's time you tell me about where you got those techniques from. Sigh, he knew this time would come, but she really didn't need to know about his life outside of the game. Yeah, well, a while ago, just after the game begun, I found out that I had a special skill. Supposedly it's unique to only me, so I can't teach it to anyone. It basically allows me to use techniques called jutsus using chakra. Chakra? For some reason, this reminded him of the academy. Teaching children about chakra. Whatever. Chakra is the mix of both physical energy and mental energy, he replied. So this mix of physical energy and mental energy is what allowed you to use that wind thing and the clones. This was a little weird to her. His skill seemed like something you would only find in a fairy tale. Whatever, this technically is a game, so it's possible. Hey, do you want to watch a movie with me? The silence in the air before her question was seriously starting to bug her. So what better way to relax than to lay back and watch a movie? Yeah, go set it up and I'll make snacks. He really didn't want her to ask him to set it up. He had absolutely no idea how to. After all, the elemental countries were way behind in technology, especially when compared to places like this new land. Okay, she said cheerfully. 10 minutes until midnight. Naruto and Asuna had fallen asleep half an hour ago, with Asuna resting her head on his chest and his arms around her stomach. While to most it would seem weird for two people who don't go out to sleep like this, it was a normal thing for the duo. Ever since that first night they spent together, they usually slept like this. This was the scene that Kirito walked into when he finished his late training. And he says they're not going out, Kirito said with a smirk. He wondered how long it would take for the duo to realize the feelings they had for each other. Kirito threw a blanket over them and went to his room to do some of his own beauty sleep. Asuna woke up on something stiff. When she opened her eyes and looked back, she noticed it was her blonde friend, causing her to smile. When she shifted, she woke him up. Blue eyes met brown when his eyelids opened. He let out a content smile and hugged her. Good morning, gorgeous, said the blonde. That was weird, he never called her that. Good morning, Naruto-kun, she answered shakily, while she liked him calling her that. It was rather strange. He pulled her into a kiss. This made Ajuin completely confused. Even though she didn't know what was going on, she knew she wanted this and kissed back. Emotions clouded her judgment as he rubbed his tongue against her teeth, signaling her to open her mouth, to which she happily obliged. When they separated, a long strand of saliva was all that was left of their lip contact. He started groping her and nibbling on her earlobe. Naruto-kun, she moaned. She knew this was wrong, but at the moment she didn't care. She needed her Naruto-kun. Then she felt Naruto's little buddy growing in size as it rubbed against her leg. Asuna-chan, he whispered. Asuna-chan, he said louder. Asuna-chan, he yelled. End of dream. Naruto was having a strange day. In the morning he was the first of the trio to wake up. He woke up early to make pancakes for Asuna as some kind of thanks. When he was done, he walked to where Asuna was to find her on the floor with her face buried into a pillow. She was literally pushing her face into the pillow and licking. Slowly walking backwards to where he knew Kirito's room was. Once he was inside, he tried to wake up Kirito without waking up Asuna. Kirito, he whispered as he nudged him. He knew the black-haired guy was a light sleeper and would wake up after the nudge. What? Asked Kirito with a tired look on his face. I need your help. Ask Asuna. She is the problem. He was already back to sleep. Fine, he doesn't want to wake up, then I'll make him, thought the blonde with a devilish smile on his face as he left the room. Quietly he tiptoed to the bathroom and poured really cold water into the cup. After that he went back to the room the same way he left it. Naruto walked back into the room only to see Kirito wide awake. He had seen the devil-worthy smile and heard the water rushing and did not want to be pranked today, so he woke up to escape the watery prank Naruto would have played. So what's your problem, and why do you have a cup of water? He already knew why, but that's not what's important. What, a guy can't drink water, he said, trying to cover himself. And the problem is Asuna. What about her? He asked. What could possibly wrong with the girl that the blonde would have to wake him up? In the living room, Asuna was still having her make-out session with Naruto. Kirito was staring at the sleeping girl with wide eyes. Naruto, she's kissing that pillow. But I wonder who she thinks that pillow is. He had a thoughtful look on his face. Naruto-kun, she moaned while still on the ground. Well, now we know. Naruto, she's dreaming about kissing you. Naruto's eyes bulged out of his eyes. To stop her, he jumped onto her waist with his legs opened. Asuna-chan, Naruto whispered. Asuna-chan, he said louder. Asuna-chan, he yelled. Asuna's eyes flew open. What the hell just happened? One moment she was having an intimate moment with Naruto-kun, and now they were on the ground with him screaming her name. Asuna-chan, are you okay? You were dreaming. Oh, that made a lot of sense. Obviously Naruto would never want someone like her. He probably likes someone else in the real world. That thought brought a sad smile to her face. At least he's happy. Even though she thought this, she didn't trust herself to not make a move on the only blonde in the group of beaters. She knew that if she didn't leave, she would have those feelings from the dream and try something. The blonde continued to stare at her with concerned eyes. Yeah, I'm fine. Apartment door, 1 a.m. Asuna quickly closed the door as she left the apartment for what she thought would be the last time. Unknown to her, in the corner of the room stood a lamp that had not been there before. This lamp was really a hinged Naruto. Where are you going, Asuna-chan? He wondered as he followed her. She ran down the street followed by a guy who was in his early 30s. Hey girl. Asuna stopped and turned around to see the man that had been following her. The man stood a little shorter than Naruto did and wore armor that resembled a knight's. It was all silver and defined the expression knight in shining armor. Yes, she said in the politest way she could. She really had to get as far away from here as fast as possible and didn't have time for this. What's wrong? You seem troubled. Please tell me. The look in his eyes were pleading her to tell him, as if the world would end if she didn't tell him. She sighed and told him everything about her relationship with Naruto from the moment they met to the last time she saw him, including the dream she had. So what do you think? Her mind wandered off trying to think of what she should address him as. Oturan is my name. Okay, so what do you think, Oturan-san? I think the boy is in love with you. Why do you say that? She asked. This guy really thought Naruto-kun was in love with her, but why would he think that? All of a sudden the older man pulled her into a kiss. This earned him a punch to the face. The punch caused him to explode into a cloud of smoke. When the smoke cleared, another man stood in the place of Oturan. I forgot I was still hinged. Hey Asuna-chan, said a familiar voice. There in the place of Oturan stood one Naruto Uzumaki. Asuna's eyes widened. Naruto, what the hell? Why would you do that? Don't you understand that I was trying to get away from you? I don't want to ruin your relationship with whoever yo dash. Naruto has had enough of Asuna putting herself down and goes to show her that she's the only one for him. Naruto pulls Asuna into a passionate kiss. Shut up, Asuna. Floor 10. Switch. Naruto ran towards the green plant monster thing. It looked pretty disgusting. It was a green man that were a little shorter than Kirito. The only article of clothing they wore were rags that were only enough to hide the space between the beast's upper thighs and hips. It had 3 long leaves that seemed to grow from its scalp. With one rough thrust, the man-plant was destroyed. The 3 beaters had grown close over the past 9 floors. Especially Naruto and Asuna, they were even closer than when Kirito first joined the group if it was possible. When they weren't training, doing missions, or hanging out with Kirito, they were together. It was as if they were stuck together like glue. In all honesty, Kirito was sort of jealous. Not that he had a crush on Asuna, he was jealous of the fact that even in this death game they were able to find each other and love each other. He wanted something like that, but for now he would have to settle with his dreams. Right, Naruto and the team getting ready for what promised be a tough fight. He knew the whole team was ready. They had all been training to complete exhaustion on numerous occasions. He knew for sure that he was ready for whatever was going to be thrown his way. He personally was at level 24 while Asuna was at level 22 and Kirito being at level 23. On a scale of 1 to 10, his Shinobi skill was pretty good. He had a 7 in ninjutsu due to the fact that he already knew some elemental ninjutsu and was allowed to use it in the game. Another reason he gave himself a 7 was the fact that he was allowed to use both of the Kekkei Genkai that the current Mizukage could. /N. If you didn't know, the Kekkei Genkai are steam release and lava release. Sadly, his genjutsu skills were still non-existent. It's not that he didn't want to learn the art, he just couldn't control his chakra enough in the game. Even his control in real life would only allow him to use weak ED rank genjutsu, but his chakra reserves would allow him to cancel almost any of genjutsu. In taijutsu he would give himself an 8. He had chosen the taijutsu style named the Toad style in honor of his late sensei Jiraiya, the previous Toad Sage of Mount Mayabuku. It was basically a fighting style based on the way the toads fought. With strength in their legs they were able to hop, or in his case jump, away from danger, and also using his legs he propel himself towards the enemy. Guys, I think we should head back. The raid is later today and I'd like be rested and ready, said the brunette of the group. Yeah, you're right, agreed both of the 16-year-olds. They turned towards the exit and started their way to the entrance of the dungeon. ROAR, the sound of an angry plant behind them startled everyone. All of the plant men had made noises like that, a roar sound. The only difference was that this one was a lot louder and deeper. Before they could turn around, they were all forced against the wall by what seemed like thick vines. With their arms tied together, they couldn't even reach for their weapons. Naruto, however, didn't need his weapon. Yoton, Modiki, he forced out a fiery red liquid from his mouth, causing it to burn through the vines. This was one of his Kekkei Genkai, the lava release. It allowed him to release the mixture of fire-based chakra and earth-based chakra. The only problem was that it took more chakra than it should, again due to his control. He had it a bit under what his control was in the real world. He wouldn't dare try and use Yoton, Modiki, to try and burn through his teammates' spines. The jutsu allowed him to spit out a small amount of lava. Even if it was a small amount in this game, a small amount could very much kill them. The blonde finally took a good look at their attacker. It looked almost exactly like the other plants, but taller and obviously buffer. Leaf Tank was what it was called, and it had a star next to its name, meaning it was a rare spawn. He decided he had enough of these green guys and used the new jutsu he had learned recently. It was for his Kekkei Genkai Yoton. He slowly went through the hand seals and took in a deep breath. He could feel the burning liquid getting ready to leave his body. Yotan, Tsunami o Nensho, a large tidal wave made of pure rock and fire burned into the plant. It made another strange noise. Reech yelled the plant before the large amount of lava covered the plant, completely enveloping it. The sign that told him what he got was shown in front of him. He got a poisoned dagger. He was a bit disappointed because of the fact that he didn't get anything really useful, but nonetheless finally he was happy he could finally leave with his girlfriend and buddy. Kusa no Maki Floor 10. Man, those are some crazy skills, Naruto, said Kirito. Yeah, but I have to keep training if I want keep my promise, he muttered to himself. A while ago, around the 8th floor, some people in a newly formed guild. The guild was named the Moonlit Black Cats, and the guild were 5 people. They all were almost killed when they were attacked by a group of monsters. Almost, because right before the first person was killed, the beaters defended them and killed the monsters. Keita, Sachi, Tetsuo, Sasamaru, and Ducker were all extremely appreciative of the trio. During lunch, one of the guild members had decided if they couldn't even beat those low-level monsters, then what was the point of even trying to survive? The blonde, being a good-hearted man, forced them to promise that they would survive, and he promised that he would defeat the final boss and set them all free. Right now he was laying down cuddling with Asuna on the couch, with both of them wearing sleepwear. In his room, Kirito was already asleep, saying that he was tired. Knock knock. Who's at the door? Asuna asked. It was weird, they weren't expecting company. They got up and went to the door to answer, with Asuna taking the lead. Who are you? Asuna asked. At the door stood a tall gray ponytail-haired man with red eyes. They were completely red, with on black pupil and 5 lines that branched out of it and made it look like a sun. He looked old, but not so old, but it's weird to see him playing this game. The man wore silver heavy armor with black pants that matched Naruto's old ones. To go along with that outfit, he had gray standard warrior boots. I'm here for Namikaze-sama. Naruto had finally reached the door and had heard the part about Namikaze. Where have I heard that name before? She put her index finger on her cheek. The blonde in the room was extremely nervous. If Asuna were to remember what Kayaba had said on their first day in Sword Art Online about heir to the Namikaze clan, then he would have to fight the onslaught of questions. Some of those questions would force him to explain his profession to her now rather than later, which he did want to happen. The latter, the gray-haired man pointed at Naruto. There he is, the man said. This gave Naruto a sheepish look. Sorry Asuna-chan, I forgot to tell you I have 2 last names, Uzumaki and Namikaze. Mr. Namikaze, can you take a walk with me? Asked the man. For the first time he looked into the man's eyes. The Sharingan, Naruto whispered. Is everything all right, Naruto-kun? Asuna asked when she saw Naruto's distress. No, everything's fine, Asuna-chan. He didn't want to bring Asuna into this trouble, because if that really was the Sharingan, then he would be in for a hard fight. He quickly gave Asuna a peck on the lips and was on his way with the man. Naruto and the man walked down the street in silence, neither attempting to open a conversation, making it awkward. Okay, who are you? How do you have the Sharingan, and how do you know me? Naruto asked angrily. Who doesn't know the hero of the leaf? That ticked Naruto off. He quickly pushed him against a wall and put one of the poison kunai at his throat. The man put his hands in the air as he sensed the danger. Whoa, how about you put down the weapon and let me explain? 5 minutes, he answered in a low voice. Well, my name is Akihiko Kayaba, but I come from the Hidden Leaf Village and my real name is Akihiko Yamanaka. Using my clan jutsu, I created this game. Unfortunately, I was also forced into a genjutsu by Madara Uchiha. He did this because he followed you when you first came to the new land, and when he found out that the only force in the leaf that had a chance against him could be put down beforehand without the need for him to actually fight, he jumped for it. I can only control myself when in the game, but outside I'm at his mercy, he said at the end with a frown. It truly was a shame so many people killed because of his game, a game he created for people to be closer. He felt like the whole world had separated, and if he could make this game, then he would be able to bring everyone closer together. In the end, he was just a puppet for those accursed eyes. So it's true that Madara truly is still alive and he took control of this game to me, but that still doesn't explain why you have the Sharingan. It's a sign that he's my master. Okay, well I guess I'm going to trust you, but the moment you start any funny business I'll end your life. Before they could continue, Akihiko went to the ground and looked like any of the Hyuga branch clan member when someone uses their curse seal. It's Madara, I have to go. He promptly did so and signed himself out of the game, leaving the blonde to an empty street. I guess he really was telling the truth if he was forced to the ground like that, was what he thought as he walked back to the apartment with his hands in his pocket. Outside boss room, floor 10. He didn't know why, but Naruto could feel a large amount of deja vu, him getting ready to fight a strong boss and a strong leader, prepping everyone. Today he decided for an outfit change, not that it was much of a difference. Now he wore a trench coat that matched his father's. It made him feel powerful, but of course that might be due to the buffs the coat had, them being +2 strength and plus stealth. The new leader, like Diabel, was a beta tester, and just like him no one in the raid knew of his being a beta tester. However, unlike Diabel, the man was a redhead and had dark skin. His name was Yamato, and just like his friend in real life Yamato, the man was a natural-born leader. Alright guys, get ready, remember the rules I put down and listen to me out there. We all know this isn't a real game anymore, so who's ready? He yelled. There was a loud yell of HAI. With that, the entire raid force rushed towards the room and stopped when everyone had. The inside was a huge rounded room with grass everywhere and an enormous tree in the center. As soon as everyone was inside, the vines at the side of the door grew and blocked the exit. The huge tree opened his eye, and unfortunately in the place of where the eye should be sat the almighty Rinnegan. This pushed anger through Naruto. To him it was like they were making fun of Nagato. That was not alright. In his book, Nagato was a man who had strived for world peace even if he went down the wrong path to try and reach his dream. In the end, Nagato was a better human than most of the villagers the sage had tried to protect. With all this in his head, he was the first to charge the huge tree. His attack was enough to knock everyone else out of their stupor. Wind style, air slash, he yelled as a large slash of chakra-enhanced wind cut a vine that was attacking a random player. Before anyone could go further, a vine impaled a man and then another and another. Retreat was heard throughout the boss room. The group -3 jumped back, just barely dodging the few vines that tried to kill the rest. Cutting the vines only seemed to do at most 5 points of damage, and with a monster that had 20,000 health points that wouldn't be enough. Not even with his chakra-enhanced speed could the blonde outrun the vines. But they seemed to have a limit to their length, kinda like Shikamaru's shadow, he thought. Another 2 people had died, and the boss's life wasn't even past the 3/4 mark. This was going bad. He saw Asuna as she entered the area where the vines could reach. She ran at her top speed and jumped as high as the distance that the vines couldn't reach on the ground, and to his surprise the vines couldn't reach her. That is, until she came down. She came down and hit the tree's bark. This attack alone did twice the amount they all had done together since they started the fight. Ah! Yelled a familiar female voice, screamed. Tajukagi Bunshin no Jutsu. The boss room was attacked by entire raids of shadow clones. In reality they were all decoys so that the original Naruto could save his chestnut-haired girlfriend. He quickly brought her back to what he called the safe zone. From that attack she earned a poison debuff that wasn't fatal, but it slowed her down and made her lose a little bit of life every 5 minutes. All around him people were staying as far away from the tree as possible, not wanting to end up like their fallen comrades. Asuna, you can't be doing that, you could have gotten yourself killed, please. Just stay here. He made 2 more clones to stay by her side while he went to fight. He had to beat this boss fast, because if he didn't, Asuna and most likely everyone would die. Suetun, Dakunuma, the ground underneath the tree turned to water. Raitun, Kairyokuna Ima, the body of water, was shocked by the lightning of his Raitun jutsu. Kirito, he said, calling over his fellow beater. I have an idea, just follow me. The blonde ran at the tree with great speed that was only matched by Asuna, who specialized in speed. With Kirito behind him, the blonde ran on branches that were off the ground. Apparently for now they were clear. The huge tree was still gathering its bearings, which meant that it couldn't protect itself from the onslaught of attacks courtesy of Naruto Uzumaki and Kirito. The attacks brought its health down to 50% and it also put the tree back on track. Just like any other boss they had fought, the tree changed its attack pattern by adding in mobs that helped it and a new attack. It's the green guys from earlier. The invasion of green plant men was enough to get the cowering men of the raid to help attack. Some even going to attack the boss. The new attack killed off a few men. Every few minutes a bunch of razor-sharp leaves would rise up and be launched at the players. Naruto looked back at Asuna and noticed her health going below green and entering orange. He sliced the head off another plant man. I have to finish this now, he thought as he jumped onto the wall and used chakra to stick. He ran up the dome-shaped ceiling until he was standing directly over the tree. The vines didn't even try to reach him, knowing that they had no chance at reaching him. He made a clone and made a Kazeboru Saperu and had the clone use Kitan, Raita. Together it made a ball of spinning fire. While it wasn't as powerful as the Rasengan, it was still pretty powerful. He liked to call this combo Kitan, Boru Saperu, he yelled as he released his chakra from the ceiling and pushed himself towards the larger tree. He pushed the ball down and down deep into the core of the tree, but the attack was being blocked by the bark and the jutsu started to falter. He was stabbed by a vine and then another. Come on, harder, and with that the tree popped out of existence along with the tree's minions. Just like the first floor, everyone was cheering and happy except for Asuna and Kirito, who were trying their best to heal their fallen comrade. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity for Asuna, Naruto started coughing. How many did we lose? He coughed out, which made everything deathly quiet. 15 men, said a man quietly. Fuck, another 15 innocent people were murdered by the Akatsuki. Naruto knew that he had to get out of there soon because right now the Akatsuki could be attacking the hidden leaf. Right now they could be hurting his precious people and he could not and would not just stand and allow that. Unknown location, real world. Madara Uchiha smiled at the spear he had stolen from the Konoha. Good job, Naruto-kun. Floor 20. It was a carbon copy of Mount Mayabuku. All Naruto was grasslands and toads jumping/hopping around. In the distance they could see black toads with red lips and red warts called. He couldn't see their names. Before the shinobi could even know what happened, he was jumped on by a large toad and was hit on the head by 2 other smaller toads. Hey bro, I didn't know you were here too, said the large toad. It was an orange toad with black markings on his face and stomach. He wore only a blue open vest. What did you do this time, Naruto? Asked the other 2 toads. They were both obviously old. On the left was a woman toad. She had green-yellow skin, she wore a black cloak and had purple thing on her head. The toad on the right also wore a black cloak and had light green skin. On top of his head was white old people hair. Gamakichi Amaheipa, how are you guys even here? Asked the blonde with a frown. How the hell were they even here? Did a nerve gear really fit on their heads? He shook his head when he thought of them trying to, but the small helmet on their heads. That guy stole some of our DNA and made us in the game. Naruto's eyes widened at that. Who was strong enough to go into Mount Mayabuku and steal DNA from Toad? One group came to mind immediately. Akatsuki. Who, was it Deidara, Sasori, Tobi, Itachi, Kisame, Haiden, or Kakuzu? Pa only shook his head with a small smile. It was Madara, and let me tell you something, Gamabunta fought like a beast until he was finally defeated. Not killed but severely damaged. So where is he now? He said with a look of wonder on his face. Asuna and Kirito had left to go to the shop after Naruto said he needed a long walk. He has the job of giving the quest called A Toad's Henchman. If you complete it you get the Toad summoning contract, but it's supposed to be really hard without having chakra to stick to my dad's head. Naruto gave him a smirk. I think I'll manage. The large toad signaled for the blonde to follow. At that exact moment Asuna came from behind Naruto and gave him a hug from behind. Kirito was walking a foot behind the duo and smiled. Hey Asuna-chan, hey Kirito. I'm doing a quest with this toad. Hey, I want to join. How come you didn't tell us? Asuna asked with a pout. I didn't know where you guys were, sorry. It's alright, just don't abandon me to go on a mission again. As you wish, Haim, he said as he bowed. Asuna's cheeks reddened. She still couldn't control her blush when Naruto called her that. Every boyfriend, if you can call them that, was forced onto her, not rape, by her parents, and they were all complete assholes who thought that they could have anything because of their clan or parents. Having a real boyfriend for the first time was nice for the girl and she loved it. Whoa bro, got any tips for getting a girlfriend for a toad? Asuna's eyes went wide. As far as she knew, NPCs couldn't have conversations with players, so 0_0. And Naruto, how is he talking to you like that? The blonde's eyes also widened when he realized that Gamakichi was talking to him as if he was a real player. I don't know, I guess these toad NPCs are special, he answered. When they got out of the game, he knew he would tell her and Kirito about what he did in the real life. It was no use having a relationship built on lies, so he really had no choice. But when he did, he knew he would make it crazy interesting. What else would you expect from the most unpredictable ninja? Okay, she said. She trusted her boyfriend and knew that if he did hide anything from her, it was most likely to protect her. Gamakichi had long ago forgotten that question. He didn't want to cause Naruto any more trouble. 20 minutes later, Gamabunta's lair. The group had just entered the lair. Naruto had chosen to put on a mask so Gamabunta wouldn't know who the new summoner would be. In the large cave/room stood the almighty toad Gamabunta. Who dares enter my cave? Father, these fools think they are worthy to work for you. Naruto didn't take offense to this because he knew that it was all part of the quest. Asuna, on the other hand, got a red face and was about to tell them both off but was cut off by the huge toad. I will let you become my subordinates if you can stay on my head until sundown. Naruto's sweat dropped at that. He thought he would never have to do that ever again. Not again, he thought. The large toad picked Naruto and Asuna up from the ground using his tongue and jumped through the ceiling. When his webbed feet touched the ground, the two Sword Art Online players were on his back. Naruto was the first to react by pushing chakra into his feet and grabbing onto Asuna, who was now holding onto a huge wart. Without warning, the red-skinned toad started his jumping marathon. He hopped and just kept hopping. All of his hops would take him 5 stories into the sky. It seemed as if Gamabunta was even more of an asshole in the game world. He knew this because now the toad was doing flips in the air and had just recently got out of a huge pond. On the ground, Kirito was making bets with Gamakichi against the two players, and Gamakichi was betting that they could do it. He knew that it was always a bad idea to think that Naruto couldn't do something right before sunset. How is that even possible? No one has ever been able to do this until sunset except one person, and he was a god when compared to you puny pathetic fools. Gamabunta said angrily. How dare they think they could reach anywhere near Naruto's level? This was all a game. Naruto had power that dwarfed theirs in the real world. The end of the sunset was seconds away and Gamabunta took one last chakra-enhanced jump. 5 stories, 6 stories, 7, 8, they just kept soaring through the skies until the tired Naruto couldn't take it. His chakra stopped flowing into his feet and he and Asuna were knocked off the large toad. For Gamabunta it was the best thing ever. For Asuna it was like the gods were angry at them because she knew they would not survive a fall from this height. For Naruto it was fun. Woohoo, he yelled before yelling something more important. He went through hand signs with one arm wrapped around Asuna's slim body and put his thumb and index finger together to make a ring right before screaming at the top of his lungs. Futon de Tapa, a large gust of wind pushed Naruto and Asuna back onto Gamabunta's head. The trio fell back to the ground at the same time the sunset finished. You have gained the Toad Summoning contracting in your inventory. Just sign it in blood and I will have become your boss. Thanks Gamabunta, Naruto said happily as he took off his mask. Asuna was asleep in his arms, but she had also gained the ability to summon toads. Gaki. Why am I not surprised to see you here? You always were the crazy kind of guy. Naruto smiled at his longtime friend and boss. the toads had always been there for him and he wondered how it would have been like to be raised by the toads. From when he first fought Gaara in the Chunin exams to that fight with Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Naruto against Kabuto and Orochimaru to the collaboration technique he used against the Three Tails to the fight at Blood Prison and finally the last fight he had in the real world, Pain. That was when Naruto was truly grateful of them. He knew that if he hadn't trained with the toads to learn senjutsu there would be no more Konoha. Brat, you don't need to sign the contract again, just use the hand signs. Your girlfriend on the other hand, your girlfriend just has to sign, but she better sign when you beat this fucked up game. Thanks boss, he said, grateful that at least someone believed he could do it. Behind them Naruto and Gamabunta could hear two yells. One in delight and the other one in anger. Ys/New Gamakichi had just earned himself 5,000. Colonel Kirito had thought there was no way that Gamabunta would lose, especially when his fellow beaters fell off his head. 2 hours later. That was one hell of a show, Naruto, said the voice of Keita behind them. Behind Keita were the moonlit black cats. They all looked exactly the same as they did when they first met them in the 8th floor. He remembered that day like it was yesterday. Flashback no jutsu. Naruto and company were mapping out the boss lair. They were trying to at least find the boss lair by tomorrow and beat it with a raid by the end of the week. All of a sudden a yell was heard. Someone help. Please Ruhar. They ran and ran and ran some more. When they finally stopped fighting the random mobs that were hindering their progress, they were met with the sight of 6 people fighting the boss of level 8 inside a room with the door open. They were getting destroyed. Everyone had below orange health, and if the beaters hadn't come earlier they were definitely going to die. Without a second thought Naruto ran into the hexagon-shaped room. It was then that he really saw the boss for the first time. It was large red beast with 4 arms. Its head wasn't humanoid, it was like someone poured cake batter onto the head and added eyes, a mouth, and a nose. Naruto quickly unsheathed his blade and blocked 2 swords that were both attacking him. The 6 players pushed out of the room by Asuna while Kirito helped Naruto. Slicing blade, Kirito yelled as he cut off one of the monster's arms. Naruto copied him by attacking at the monster's arms. Slicing wind blade, it was exactly like Kirito's slicing blade attack, with the only difference being that Naruto would channel chakra into his sword when he used the attack. It easily cut through 2 arms, leaving one that was on the left. The beast was at half-life on its 3rd and final bar. It backed away from the 2 people who apparently liked cutting off arms. Naruto and Kirito both charged up a final attack but were both beaten in the speed aspect. Giga Impact, Asuna yelled from behind them as she quickly finished off the boss with a powerful "Good job Asuna," Naruto said, causing her to blush from the praise. The trio of friends walked over to the now healed group of 6. What happened guys, you could have died. We were trying to beat the boss so we could have a part freeing everyone from this game, said the apparent leader of the group. Word from the wise, don't fight a battle that you think would be too much for you. Flashback no jutsu, Kai. Yup, that was a nice fight. The fight and the fact that they made some good friends that day were his favorite things about that floor. Now in floor 20 people were either giving up and living in peace on whatever floor they choose, or they are getting stronger and fighting. This caused the numbers of deaths to lower and lower every day more and more. Were you guys stalking us? The blonde asked with raised eyebrow. The group had taken to following them ever since they deemed the beaters their eternal rivals, or at least that's what Keita said. And no, we just happened to see you and followed you. Anyways, that was awesome. 1 week and a half later. The players had finally found the boss room for the floor 20 boss, and everyone was getting ready while outside of the boss room. Just like every other boss room they had seen, the boss room was at the end of a long hallway that was full of numerous monstrous beasts. This floor seemed to have to do with the toads. Every monster they had fought on this floor was a toad. The only difference was that some were small, others were huge, and some were just strong or weaker than the others. Asuna had signed the toad summoning contract the morning after the meeting with the moonlit black cats. Kirito said that there were most likely more summons and he didn't want the toads because they weren't his animal. Naruto walked forward with Asuna and Kirito right behind him and with two other parties-filled strangers. He immediately recognized the room as the room where the great toad sage Gamamaru once sat. Now instead of an old toad sat the orange-masked man. He was the man who caused Naruto's life to turn to shit, he was the one to make his mother die, he was the one to kill his father. He did all of these things and now he sat in the chair where only the greatest of the toad sages should sit. "Toby, you bastard," Naruto yelled as some of the Kyuubi's chakra was pushed into his system. Toby didn't answer, he just gave him a nice smile and said the name of a jutsu, he disappeared from sight. The man said, "Kuchios, Edo Tensei." In the middle of the room a large box rose from the ground. Slowly it opened revealing a large man. When Naruto saw who it was he started crying. Tears poured out of his eyes. "And here I thought I was done with the sniveling gaki I knew before our training trip. I guess you aren't ready to help me with research," Jiraiya said with a smirk as he turned his head and crossed his arms. "If I know the brat that will get him to stop crying," he thought to himself. "Shut up, pervy sage. I don't want to help with you perverted research anyways." Naruto ran up to the man and hugged him. It was a father-son type of hug and Naruto couldn't be happier. "So where's Tsunade?" the white-haired man said with a perverted giggle. This caused Naruto to sigh, once a pervert always a pervert even after death. "Pervy sage, this isn't the real world, this is a game that I got trapped in." Jiraiya face faulted. It seemed as if the blonde just kept getting into so much trouble. Everyone who was a part of the raid just stared at the apparent master and student. All of a sudden Jiraiya's head went down, and he looked at Naruto with a pain-filled face. "And Naruto, Toby, reincarnation, control, me." "I'm sorry." Before Naruto could ask what was wrong Jiraiya cut him off. A Rasengan teared into Naruto's stomach. One look into Jiraiya's eyes and Naruto knew that the jutsu had now really started. Toby was now in control of the great toad sage. The blonde-hair shinobi knew he couldn't hold back from this fight and with Asuna at his side he rushed forwards Jiraiya. "Asuna, please stay away, this is something I have to do on my own." Asuna-chan nodded and jumped back to her spot by the rest of the raid and told them what Naruto told her. "Pervy sage, I'm going to bring you back to normal or I'm going to kill you trying, all I know is that I will not die." The Edo Tensei Jiraiya let a tiny smile go on his face as he rushed towards the blonde. When they met, they locked in a serious taijutsu battle. The white-haired man sent a right palm outwards towards Naruto's face. But it was blocked by Naruto's palm that went upwards and hit his forearm. They kept going at speeds that the rest of the raid couldn't see. The two trained ninja jumped away from each other and used ninjutsu. Katan, Gukakyu no Jutsu. Jiraiya spit out a large ball of fire that was aimed at Naruto. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu. The water dragon cancelled out fireball and produced a large cloud of mist. This is exactly what he needed. Futton, Komu no Jutsu. The air around Jiraiya turned acidic as it burned his body. Kirito stood next to Asuna with wide eyes. Naruto and the boss were fighting like the supermen. They both fought like they had used their powers for years and had trained to exhaustion. To his left stood a girl that was in a similar state. She had pink hair and wore a red outfit that Kirito couldn't see well and he didn't want to look at her body cause that would make her feel weird. "This is crazy," she whispered to herself. Kirito heard her and smiled. This was Naruto, his best friend and part rival. He never told Naruto, but he was always putting a lot of effort into training in hope that one day he could be on equal grounds with him and maybe even surpass him. "I know," he whispered back. His comment scared her, but they both went back to watching the fight. Doton, Yomi Numa. Jiraiya slammed his hand on the ground. Naruto had seen him use this before, so he jumped away from where he was standing and jumped. On the ground where Naruto had just been standing was mud and trees. Basically it looked like a swamp. Yoton, Yoga Numa. Naruto yelled and slammed his own palm onto the ground. Just like Jiraiya's Doton, Yomi Numa, there was small pond of lava that engulfed the Sannin. A screen popped up in front of Naruto and he let out a small smile. He didn't read all of it, but he did read the first one, just before he closed it. "You got the last attack bonuses. Oil Forehead Protector. Step 1 Rasengan. Sage's Essence. Edo Tensei. Asuna ran up to Naruto and congratulated him. Everyone was cheering for Naruto, and those who did know his name were cheering his name. Naruto-kun, that was amazing, but someone has to tell me how you knew the guy. He was my sensei in the real world. But wouldn't that make him a player? No, he died recently. He was just an NPC with his memory. What I don't know is how he was put in the game. While it wasn't the complete truth, it wasn't a lie. Jiraiya in this game wasn't the same man as he knew outside the game. He was a Jiraiya that was being controlled. Except that part before the blonde got a Rasengan to the gut. That was all him. Naruto opened his menu and went to his equipment and equipped the oil forehead protector that came from the toads. Just wearing it made him feel closer to his sensei, and it made him feel like he really could beat this stupid game. Yuki Residence, Real World. In the Yuki residence, Asuna's parents were thinking of who they could marry their daughter to. They wanted someone with a big future who would be able to support Asuna and her parents for the rest of their life if need be. Shuzu and Kyuku started writing letters to be sent to multiple countries around Japan and in Japan. Whoever returned the letter with an answer first would be the lucky winner of their daughter's heart, and hopefully it would be a good man. To them that didn't really matter as long as he had money. 2 weeks later, Konoha. The Konoha council room was in a mess. Konoha had just received a letter from a family under the surname of Yuki. They were looking for someone to wed their daughter to. The council was fighting for Naruto since most of them didn't want to force their own children to be married. So the next best choice would be Demon. While Naruto had changed the view of many of the people in Konoha, many still believed he was a demon who deserved to die. "No, we're not doing this to Naruto," yelled an enraged Tsunade. She would not allow her grandson be forced into a marriage because of politics. If he were to get married, which she hoped would not be soon, then he should be able to do it with someone he loves, not some rich bitch. "You do not have a choice, Tsunade. We have you outnumbered in votes," said Hamura. Naruto Uzumaki will become Hokage when he returns from this mission, and he will get married to the Yuki girl a few weeks later, Danzo said with anger. While he really wanted to be Hokage and turn the ninja of Konoha into rude assassins, he had no say in the matter. Tsunade calmed down knowing that she had no voice in the matter. They had her backed into a corner with these votes. Damn you, Hiruzen, she thought. He had gave up a lot of power that the Hokage had before. "I'm sorry, Naruto," she whispered. At least one good thing would come from this. Naruto would finally accomplish his dream of becoming Hokage. "I know you'll be a great Hokage just like you, father." Floor 30 Sword Art Online, with Naruto. Just great. Naruto had recently got the things needed to be able to revive someone. With Edo Tensei, he wanted to revive Jiraiya using the Toad's essence that he got from floor 20. The only problem with that was the fact that now to actually use Edo Tensei he needed 4 weapons from floors 33, 35, 38 and 40. Each weapon was guarded by a mini-boss. That's a lot of work, he thought with a sigh. But there was no going around it. He had to get his mentor and father figure back. Over the last 10 floors the blonde had earned his Rasengan back. Now he was working on mixing his element with it, starting with Yoton. Yoton, why not win to get the Rasen Shuriken? Some may ask. But to him it made perfect sense. If all of his attacks from the real world were in the game and he could unlock them, then what would be the point of working so hard when later he could get it again with no work at all and he'd be gaining a new powerful jutsu? Just the thought of it made him giddy. All over the land he was training on were huge puddles of lava. The blonde was trying to condense a small amount of lava and shape it into the shape of the Rasengan. Unfortunately, his chakra wasn't keen on helping him shape it. The chakra just wasn't condensed enough. If it was too big, then the enemy could see it from a mile away. No, that's not what he wanted. He wanted something that would catch his opponent off guard but still big enough for it to make the opponent be like, "Oh, shit. After all, if it's a tiny little ball it wouldn't really seem like much, so why would anyone fear it?" He was about to try to form another Yoton Rasengan when he was attacked from behind. To most it looked like his girlfriend hugging him. Asuna had recently been working on her strength stats so that she was physically stronger. The more physically stronger she was, then the stronger her sword skills should be, right? For him it felt like a Granny Tsunade hug. Unknown location, real life. In an unknown location, the Akatsuki are discussing their next plan to gather all of the Jinchuriki. In a circle, men of different heights wearing sandals and a black coat that had a red cloud that was outlined with a thick white lining. The meeting place for this group was a large cave similar to their last base, but also different because of the fact that the stone constructs were not there anymore. Abito-sama the black and white Zetsu attempted to start off the discussion but was immediately cut off by the leader of the Akatsuki. "I'll stop you there, Zetsu, two-headed, black and white. I've told you time and time again, call me Madara Uchiha." Madara yelled in frustration. He was playing the part of Madara Uchiha. Whether the other members of the group thought he was fit for the name or not, he would make them call him by his name. Madara-sama, Pain-sama had fallen and with him he has taken Konan. What do you plan to do? In 2 months' time we shall attack the Hidden Leaf Village. After it is destroyed, the 9 tails will also have been taken. After that we rest for a week and finally we conquer the village hidden in the clouds. Take a look. After a second passed, a holographic map popped up in the middle of all of the cloaked men. On the map, on a town near the Hidden Leaf Village, there was a red, signified the meeting place for this raid. In exactly 2 months at 5 o'clock in the morning in Sure no Mora we will all be leaving to attack Konohagakure, and after that we will head for Kyomogakure. Floor 40. The last 10 levels had gone by quick, and at this point people were just flying through the floors. It seemed like an eternity since he had been trapped in this hellhole or heaven depending on how you looked at it. On one side he was trapped in a video game and had to do a ridiculous amount of work just so that he could escape from the 100 floors that is Aincrad. However, on the other side he was with a girl that he had come to love very much. They had started dating. He had also met a guy that loved like the brother he never had. Sure, there was Sasuke, but with Sasuke it wasn't mutual. He couldn't even save Sasuke, so he should think of him as a brother either way. With the 2 other beaters it was different. He promised himself that he would never let them die. He couldn't promise they wouldn't get hurt, but he could promise their lives. If he didn't let them get hurt, then in the end he would just be hurting them in the long run, cause they would never be able to protect themselves. Speaking of those 2. Yawn. "Hey Naruto-kun, I think it's time to hit the hay," said the brother of the trio. All 3 of them had taken a break from their usual schedules and had relaxed the entire day with Kirito's pink-haired girlfriend Lisbeth. Just like Naruto with Asuna, the 2 had gone and become really close in the short time span that they had been together. The 4 had spent the day in Naruto and Asuna's cabin home in floor 22 that they had bought the day they got engaged, in-game of course. However, Naruto wanted to do it over in real life. Flashback no Jutsu. Asuna Yukihime, will you make me the happiest man on earth and in the game by becoming Ms. Uzumaki? Asuna started tearing up and thought back to when they had first met. He had saved her and how he proposed to her on their second day of knowing each other, to which he was knocked out cold. It was things like this that made her love him more. He was so goofy in such a serious situation. But if it weren't for that goofy attitude, she would have been scared shitless at all times. It was that attitude that made her always feel safe. So the question he had asked was really a no-brainer. Yes. That night Naruto Uzumaki was given an award in the game for literally being the happiest man in the game. "Come on, I want a nice big beautiful house," yelled Asuna as she rode atop Naruto's shoulders. "It doesn't need to be big, does it?" Naruto asked. "Yes it does, it needs to be really big." "Yeah, or else where are we gonna put our kids?" Naruto teased. Asuna blushed hard at that. As a kid she had always wanted a child, just like any other little girl would. She wanted Oni to play with and play dress up with her. Now that she was grown she knew what it meant to have a child. She however minded having a child with Naruto, but still they weren't ready yet, were they? Sensing her thoughts he calmed her down. "Don't worry Asuna, maybe we're not ready now, but after we get out of the game we're gonna get married again. If you'll have me," he muttered the last part. This earned a slap to the top of his head from an angered Yuki Uzumaki. You idiot, of course I would remarry you, and no matter what we will find each other. Naruto didn't say anything, he just smiled. Roughly a half hour after the slap, the two Uzumakis found what they thought would be the perfect house for them. It was a medium-sized log cabin with everything you would expect to see in a house in real life. I guess that's why they call it a virtual reality. That same day the two went out for a walk in a forest that was supposedly haunted. There is where the young girl they would see is their daughter. She was a small blue-haired girl with a green dress on. Her name was Wendy. And, yes, the one from Fairy Tail, I got it from another SAO fanfic. Flashback no Jutsu, Kai. I think we should move the girls to bed, Kirito said. Naruto simply nodded and got up with Asuna in his arms and Wendy in her arms. He said a quick goodnight to Kirito and Lisbeth, telling them to not go back to their apartment and to stay over for the night in the guest room. They agreed and thanked him and were on their way. When Naruto laid back in bed with the only other two Uzumakis in the game, Asuna opened her eyes. You know I love you, right? Asuna asked. Yeah, I know I love you just as much. He gave her a quick peck on the lips, and with that they both went to sleep on their comfy bed. During the night, Naruto felt a strange pulling sensation on his body as if he were being sucked into somewhere. The next morning, Asuna was really worried Naruto wasn't in bed when she woke up, and he wasn't in the house. He wasn't even on her friends list. He wasn't on Kirito or Lisbeth-chan's friends list either. What scared her the most was the fact that when Wendy, who turned out to be an AI, checked the server to see everyone who was in the game, Naruto wasn't there, but that wasn't the worst part. She got a message from Kayaba. Dear Mrs. Uzumaki, I have borrowed your dear husband for a while. He will be back soon, but for the meanwhile train hard enough to finish the game. This is the only way you'll see him again. When she got that short message from the creator, she started crying and yelling and cursing Kayaba to 7th level of hell. That's when Kirito and Lisbeth rushed into to calm her down. SHHHH, I know honey, I know. Lisbeth sat on the floor with Asuna and hugged her. He took him from me. He took my Naruto-kun from me. I know. Don't worry, we are going to beat this game and get back to the real world. That's where you're going to see him again. Real world, Naruto. What the fuck? Naruto said as he opened his eyes groggily. He looked around and all he saw was a white room that looked like the hospital from Konohagakure, but he knew that was impossible. He was still on floor 22 with Wendy and Asuna. Right. He weakly touched his side, but to his dismay there was only air. Before he could say anything, a gray-haired man stood before him. Naruto jumped out of bed and put a kunai to the man's throat. Who the fuck are you and where is Asuna-chan? He knew Wendy was an AI, so she should be fine. It's me, Kayaba, he stated as he flashed his Sharingan mark. Naruto put down his weapon once he knew that this man wasn't an enemy. He mentally thanked Kurama for taking care of his body and his chakra for healing and muscle he lost this whole time. If it wasn't for him, he would be a weak and bone-like shell of his former self. Where is Asuna-chan? Asuna is fine, she is still in the game. We however are outside of the game. Tobi has left me now that his subordinates are all dead. Even Kabuto and Orochimaru are both dead. The only survivors are Zetsu and Tobi. He left for the Hidden Leaf just an hour ago. He said something about resurrecting someone named Madara. Naruto's eyes went wide at that. Get ready to put me back into the game when I get back, and get me a spot in the same room and hospital as Asuna. As soon as he finished talking, he jumped out the window with his course set in his mind. The Hidden Leaf, he said with a look of determination. Konohagakure, Kakashi. The battle with the Akatsuki had started a while ago, a day or two if he was correct, then again he could be wrong. After all, his body felt like complete shit after this whole time he's been fighting. The stress could have and most likely did go to his head. All around he could see his fallen comrades. Guy, Asuma, Kurenai, and all of their students have fallen. On his right was the slug princess Tsunade Senju. The busted blonde Hokage had fought alongside him the entire fight, and just like him, it showed. She however wasn't the only help he had during this fight. After Kisame and Zetsu were put down, which was roughly around the halfway mark of the battle, his old student Sasuke returned from wherever it was that he had gone. At first it seemed as if he was on their side as he had started attacking Itachi, but as soon as he killed Itachi he set his mind on slaughtering as many Leaf Shinobi as he could, even though he was incredibly weakened. Eventually he was finally put down by none other than Kakashi himself. "I'm sorry," Kakashi said as tears rolled down his face. Unfortunately, he was a failure as a sensei. One of his students ended up to be a psychopath set on a fictional revenge plan. His other student wasn't as bad as his other one but still had many flaws, like still being a fangirl, albeit not at the level she was before, but still. His other student was one of the few things he did right, but even for that he couldn't take credit because for most of his growth he wasn't there. No, what Naruto is now is all due to Jiraiya. Now all that was left was to defeat the mastermind behind this all, Tobi, or better known as Madara Uchiha. That was going to prove to be a difficult task. Most of their forces were already down and he and Tsunade were already as close to giving out without dying as possible. In one eye the man had a Mangekyo Sharingan and in the other there was a Rinnegan. How he attained either of those eyes is something no one would know for quite a while. "Welp, I lived a long life," said the last Tataki as he rushed towards the final Akatsuki. "Tobi," he yelled as he pulled back his right arm in an attempt to finish this. Right before Kakashi got close enough to attack, a black-coated figure beat him to it. 10 minutes before, Naruto pushed himself to run faster and faster until he was constantly going at speeds he had never reached before in the real world. This was, however, his speed from the Sword Art Online. Sometime down the line of training, his Sword Art Online speed surpassed the speed of his from the real world. That, however, wasn't important to him right now. He had to defeat the Akatsuki and then get back to Asuna-chan. Even though he knew that Asuna and Kirito could handle themselves, he didn't like being far from his chestnut-haired princess. All he had to do was beat Tobi and he could go back to the game, beat it, and get his 3 other friends. Hopefully he could create something akin to the resurrection jutsu Tobi had used to bring Jiraiya to life in the game and get Wendy into his life again after her got Asuna out of the game along with Lisbeth and Kirito. At this point he could see the walls of Konoha. But along with it he could already see the mass destruction that had been afflicted onto the village. Fires, stone walls, waterfalls, all of these elements being controlled by a few jutsu. Once he entered the village he immediately sensed the signatures of the few people that were still conscious in this whole thing. Tsunade, Kakashi, and signature of that masked man from the Land of Iron. Kakashi and Tsunade seemed close to death, so he decided that it was time to take control of the kept his speed up as he ran towards his newly found enemy. Right before Kakashi punched the orange-masked man in the face, Naruto did it for him. Now, that one strike from Naruto sent Tobi soaring through the sky. That obviously wasn't enough to beat him, but it was a show of Naruto's strength alone. Jigaki, Tsunade asked in surprise. The one and only, Naruto said as he beamed. Apparently he had arrived just in time to save both his sensei and his mother figure. Then he felt a strong force of killing intent. "Where the fuck have you been this whole fucking year? Do you know how worried we were? Do you know how many nights I couldn't go to sleep thinking that you were in mortal peril?" This filled Kakashi with fear. He knew that there was nothing more dangerous than a mother worried about her child. Naruto, being the idiot he was, tried to use a joke to calm her down, and surprisingly it worked. "So, did you miss me?" he asked in a teasing voice. On the inside, however, he almost shit his pants. In response to the question, she gave him a long hard hug. Naruto's eyes opened wide as he pushed her away before a kunai flew right in front of their faces. "I certainly did," he said with a smirk. Even with all the other Akatsuki members dead, he could still do this himself with the help of Kabuto and the army of white Zetsus Kabuto was raising. "Now that you're back I can finally take the 9 tails from you and then I'll get the other Jinchuriki over my dead body," said an enraged Naruto. "That was the plan," Tobi answered as his face gained a devilish smile and his right eye started spinning. Once they both made their last threats, the two ran towards each other, clashing kunai against kunai. This eventually led to a taijutsu fight with Naruto using the toad style he had learned during his time in Saw. This left Kakashi and Tsunade slack-jawed. How was it even possible that Naruto was able to learn the toad style in the first place at all, and how did he get so strong? He said he was in a trap made by Toby, so how did he get more powerful? Rasengan. It was at this point that Toby decided to take him seriously. He started using his Rinnegan. Shinra Tensei. Just like his battle with Nagato, Naruto was set flying into a random pile of rubble. He smashed right through the pile of bricks and smashed into another on behind it, and then through another one behind that on, and finally on more pile until he finally stopped. As soon as he landed, he regained his bearings, used his signature jutsu. Tajukagi Bunshin no Jutsu. As soon as he saw the Naruto mini army, Toby initiated one of Naruto's least favorite attacks, Chibaku Tensei. Nagato's little planet core flew up to the sky and started collecting the land and rubble from the ground. One piece took Naruto on it. Before he could get off, he was quickly smashed into the miniature planet. "This is over," Toby said with an emotionless voice, one that resembled Nagato's very much. He turned to Kakashi and Tsunade and started his pursuit. They, like earlier, were not really a challenge because of the fact that they had fought all of the Akatsuki member at one point in these past few days. At this point they were nutritionally deprived and very much so sleep deprived. All it would take was one strong right, and it would be good night for either one of them. Tsunade looked up at the now fully formed planet. Somewhere underneath all that rock was her baby. "Naruto," she whispered. "With Naruto." Underneath the rock, Naruto was being crushed by the earth. It was literally crushing his body. He needed something that could help him, but he knew that the clones couldn't possibly be done gathering the energy to enter Sage mode yet. There's only one guy he knew could help him right now. Kurama. Yeah, don't get your panties in a twist. As soon as he heard that, he felt the usual powerful energy flow through him. It was more warm than before. Before it was demonic, dark, and full of malice. Konoha, Kakashi and Tsunade. Kakashi and Tsunade use all of their strength to just be on the defensive, and even that was a fail. Again, right before another hit was thrown, they all felt a powerful Bija-like aura surround them. All three of them said the exact same thing. Naruto. Not a second later, a gold form jumped out from the core of the mini-planet that Toby had created. His gold chakra was radiating off of him. Next to him, two other copies of him popped up in an explosion of smoke. Together they turned to form a triangle of some sort. Then the true meaning behind this was Futon, Raisin Shuriken, Kakashi said out loud with wide eyes. "Man, I really wish I could use the Yoton version," and wow, everyone thought the blonde who had grown accustomed to lava-style jutsus. Much to his surprise, just like he imagined it, instead of forming a futon, Raisin Shuriken, he made the jutsu he had recently added to his arsenal. Yoton, Raisin Shuriken, fuck yeah, this will kill him, Naruto thought. Kakashi and Tsunade jumped away quickly, which left Toby to deal with the storm that was the Yoton, Raisin Shuriken. Unknown to them, at the last second, Toby used Kamui to get out of there and to get to where Kayaba controlled Heat Cliff. After that, Naruto passes out from using the Nine Tails chakra mode for the first time, and using 3 weeks later, boss room, floor 75. "How about this? If you can beat me right here right now, then you and everyone else still in the game can be free. I am the floor 100 boss." Everyone stared wide-eyed at the man. Kirito had been right. One of their closest comrades was the puppet master in this theater, so to say. "Kirito, don't do it. We can make sure we win once Naruto gets here. Please just wait," Asuna said with warm tears streaming down her cheeks. She couldn't lose the second closer person in her life. He was like a brother to her. Without him and Lisbeth, she knew she would have given up once Naruto disappeared. She couldn't just lose him too. Kirito just continued to glare at the smirking Kayaba. "I can't walk away knowing I could end this right now, and I know Naruto would take the chance too." After he said those few words, he ran towards Kayaba with his special dual-wielding skill prepared. Konoha Hospital, Naruto, Tsunade, Kakashi. For the second time in probably a week, he opened his eyes tiredly and looked around to find that he was once again in a white room. Under him he could feel a cushion, most likely the bed of the hospital. Naruto. You're finally awake, Tsunade said as she got up from the seat next to him and hugged him tightly. Water, he whispered with a voice that was in much need of a drink. Tsunade quickly grabbed the glass of water and all but shoved the glass down his throat. Enijif, she stopped pouring and waited for him to repeat it again. Enough, he said again as he coughed due to the low level of air he had. Tsunade, I'm happy to see you again, but I need to get back to that game. I have to save someone. He looked at her with eyes full of determination, the likes of which he had never used on her before. I can't keep you here, can I? She said with sadness clear in her voice. The little kid she had grown to love was now grown into a man. I won't be gone long, it's all about to be over. Wait, at least take a soldier pill to keep yourself going. He took the small green pill from her hand. Wait, before you go, the council is forcing you to marry some girl, Asuna. I think it was. Naruto eyes widened and a wide smile appeared on his face. It wouldn't happen to be Asuna Yuki, would it? Yes, why? And how did you know? His smile brightened and got wider to the point where it looked like his face would stretch off. No reason, I'll talk to you later. Grandma. Just before he could get punched, he disappeared in a flash of yellow flash. Asuna's room. Once he arrived in Asuna's room, he was met with the face of a bloodied and beaten Akihiko Kayaba. What the hell, Akihiko? What happened? That bastard. Toby attacked me. He started talking normally again after he took a deep breath. He's in the game and is in control of my character. I'd hurry if I were you. As soon as he put on the nerve gear helmet, he closed his eyes and was pulled into the last place he was before he was pulled out of the game. His and Asuna's house. He loved this place because it not only fit their relatively small family comfortably but also was just a nice house inside and out in general. He checked to see his notifications bar to see that all the floors had been cleared up to 75 and the battle to clear it was currently going on. He knew that last part because some guy had posted it on the Saw World chat. He was apparently a very big blogger who had put up a video of Kirito fighting a man who he thought was most likely Kayaba's character being controlled by Toby. Kirito was losing but not by much. Still, if I don't get there quick he will lose. With that he disappeared in a gust of wind made by his speed alone. Boss room, floor 75. Kirito and Kayaba continued to clash sword versus sword and sword versus shield. By now he had realized that skills wouldn't work because not only did Kayaba make them himself, he knew everything about the skill, that included the skill's weak spot. But at this point he didn't care. Starburst stream. Kirito's sword started glowing blue and orange as he started striking at a fast smirked as he shielded himself against every upcoming blow easily. He's given up, he thought as he continued to keep his devilish smile. During the last strike of the 50-hit combo, which was a jab, Kirito's one-of-a-kind sword was broken. His dark repulsor was shattered into pieces. Akihiko took this moment to go on the offensive and thrusted right through Kirito's gut that brought his health down to 1. Before he could get Kayaba could get another hit in the door that was the entrance to the room was destroyed. All the rubble that came from the door led to a large dust cloud to form. This cloud covered a figure that ran at Kayaba at immense speeds. Kayaba yelled a sage mode with a tiny bit of Kurama's chakra to mix in. He ran in with a golden sphere that resembled the Rasengan. Yotan, Rasengan. The Rasengan easily burned his head off, leaving his corpse to fall to the ground motionlessly. As soon as that was over he ran to Asuna and embraced her. She didn't do anything as she was still surprised at what happened. I missed you so much, he said as he started tearing up. She soon joined him in his explosion of emotions. Where the heck were you this whole time? She yelled with fresh tears still rolling down her face. I got lost on the road of life, he said coolly. Punch to the face. 3 months later, Asuna's house. Once Asuna could walk again, Naruto had to leave her to do some stuff at his place. She was still oblivious to what Naruto's occupation was and why he was in perfect shape even after all this time. A week or so after he left, her parents decided to break her new marital news to her. What do you mean you set me up to get married with some guy my age? It means exactly what I said. You're going to marry this man and we're going to get a trade deal off of him and his village, said her father. Don't you understand? You should be happy you're basically being given the chance to live the rest of your life as a queen. Either way, you don't have a choice now. Go upstairs and get ready. We're leaving in an hour to go to his village, said her mother. Asuna stomped upstairs to her room knowing that she couldn't do anything. 2 hours later. Asuna sat next to her father and across from her mother with tears flowing out of her eyes. There was no way to get out of this. She was going to be given away as a trade deal and there was nothing that was going to save her this time. The last thing she said before she went to sleep to try to forget about all this was, "Naruto, I love you. /n. Welp, I'm done with this. If you want me to continue and add onto it or make carriage, Asuna." A little after waking up, Asuna's parents had decided to explain everything in depth. They didn't know the man's name or what he looked like or anything about him for that matter. All they really knew was that the man was just named the ruler of the village, and that he was near her age. He was 18. At least they didn't try to put her with someone that's 30 or something. Either way, she had to find a way to get of here and get to Naruto. He would know what to do. There was no way that she was going to get married with someone that she, one, has no idea about, and two, was not Naruto Uzumaki. Just thinking about the situation made her angry. She could already tell the kind of guy this leader was, a teen who had a big responsibility pushed onto him and now he thought he was big shit. She knew this because her parents had tried to get her to date other guys that, while not being the king-like figure this guy was, still had large responsibilities. A lot of the time having the CEO of Rect Inc. as a father was not a good thing. By now the group of three could see the walls of Asuna's future home. The gates were very large and above the two door gates sat a large symbol. She could have sworn she had seen it before, in Saw. It was at the tip of her tongue. "Get out, Asuna, and wipe those tears from your face. The Hokage wouldn't want to see tears on your face," said an impatient mother. "What are you doing, honey? Are you trying to ruin this for my company? With the amount of word that's part of the agreement, we could power even more factories and surpass Argus Inc." She didn't reply and just got out of the stupid horse-drawn carriage they had rented in order to look more fabulous, as her mother would put it. They had forced her to put on the most fancy clothing she could find. It just happened to be a kimono that used the colors from her usual outfit in Saw. Before anything else could be said, a blonde-haired woman in a green haori that was above a gray blouse that was held by a gray-blue obi that matched her pants. For footwear, the woman wore open-toed black high-heel sandals. Both Asuna and her mother were slack-jawed when they saw Tsunade's chest, while Asuna's father started internally guessing her bust size. "The Yuki family, I presume," said the women. After everyone finally came out of their stupor, Asuna's father finally said something. "Yes, I am Yuki Shizu, the CEO of Rect. This is my wife Yuki Kyuko, and this is my daughter Yuki Asuna." He said the last part with a half-assed tone and the part about his occupation very proudly. Nonetheless, the three bowed to the blonde woman. "My name is Tsunade Senju, the heir to the Senju clan and the slug princess of the Sannin," said in response to what the man had said, and she too bowed. She turned around and smirked at her handiwork. Shuzu had his eyes widened and his mouth agape. Going up the stairs to the Hokage's office. The road that led to the Hokage's office had shown off the more beautiful parts of the village. It seemed untouched from the destruction that is technology. Although there was some technology, for example television, phones and computers, there was nowhere near as much technology as there was where she lived, or where her parents lived. She thought with a frown. No, she definitely couldn't end it like this. She had to escape. As soon as this meeting with this Hokage was over, she would get away. Hokage office, Naruto, A/N, I'm all giddy. Just like Asuna, it had been a troubling day for Naruto. He had to get everything ready for her to arrive. He also had to come up with a plan for when Asuna and her parents. The whole morning was him playing it through in his mind. Now he had what was a very simple plan but also would make Asuna and her family trust him. At that moment Tsunade walked in and smiled at him. "Hokage-sama, the Yuki family is here for you." "Let them in," he said in the deepest and powerful voice he could muster. He was gonna try to keep this voice for the whole meeting, the council had already talked to the CEO of REKT about the deals, and this was just about Asuna. All had gone well throughout the meeting. It was now time for them to leave, but before that were to happen he had to put in his plan. And Naruto shook hands as Asuna sat there angrily. She hadn't said a thing since the meeting had began, and she just kept getting angrier as the two men acted so friendly towards each. Yuki family turned to leave, but right before they did, a masked man jumped through the window and attempted to attack Shizu. "I'll kill the CEO," yelled the man. Naruto just happened to be ready and attacked the man. He punched him in the face and made him fall right out the window, where he disappeared and a puff of smoke replaced him. Naruto's Hokage hat that covered his identity miraculously fell off. "No one hurts my close ones," Naruto said with a smile. Oh yeah, I looked badass. Everyone was wide-eyed for different reasons, of course. For Asuna's parents, it was the fact that their soon-to-be son-in-law had just saved their lives from an assassin of some sort. Asuna was because of the obvious. This stranger that she was supposed to marry was actually not a stranger at all. It was her one and only Naruto Uzumaki. "Well, that was a rather strange ending to our meeting," Shizu said with a dumbfounded face. They were interrupted once again before they were able to leave. "Mom, Dad, can I talk to him before we go? I wanna at least have a conversation with." "Sure / of course, we'll meet you in the carriage," they said at the same time. "Mom, Dad, can I talk to him before we go? I wanna at least have a conversation with him before we get married next time I come." Shizu and Kyuko both smiled at the fact that she was warming up to the idea of marrying this man. "Sure / of course, we'll meet you in the carriage," they said at the same time. Tsunade took that moment to lead them back the way they came from. "Good luck, Gaki." Naruto didn't say anything verbally, he just smiled. That left just Asuna and Naruto in the room. "Did you know that it was me?" she said quietly. "Yup, I knew ever since we left Saw. I've been getting the village ready and myself the whole time." Immediately she tackled him and showered him with hugs and kisses. "I love you, Naruto Uzumaki. I love you too, Asuna." "Uzumaki," he said with a wink. And that's the final floor cleared for the virtual shinobi. From entering the deadly digital trap of Aincrad to bringing peace to both worlds and finally reuniting with Asuna under the Konoha sunset, Naruto's journey has been an epic crossover of action, camaraderie, and unforgettable clashes. Their emotional real-world reunion and happy ending proved that no matter the world, a shinobi never goes back on their word. If you enjoyed this Sunday special, don't forget to hit that like jutsu, subscribe to the channel Guild, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new fanfiction upload. Drop a comment below with your favorite boss fight or moment from this story, and let me know which universe you want Naruto to cross over into next. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe in the real world, and I'll see you in the next Sunday special. Until then, link start and believe it.